Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust for March the 2nd to order. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the February 16, 2010 meeting. I would recognize a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Been moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
I was there.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed by like sign. Thank you. We have one suburban school district application for funding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a single one from Midwest City, Del City, $685,500. This is for 6 schools, and it's for extending their building automation system to each of those facilities. It meets the requirements of the MOU. We also have representatives from the district here to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve this suburban school district application for funding.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. A couple of contracts. First, we're being asked to approve the architectural services contract with Boynton Williams and Associates for Arthur Elementary School, fee of $436,654, project ES63.
I think the only thing that I'll add on this recommendation is that Boynton Williams is a repeat architect for us. This will be their 5th project under the Maps for Kids program.
Are there any questions? Can I have a motion for approval? Been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. We're now being asked to recommend the Board of Education of Independent School District number 89 to ratify the issuance of and approve addenda numbers 1, 2, and 3, award the contract, base bid only, to Atlas General Contractors, LLC in an amount of $8,395,000 and approve contracting bonds for Classen School Advanced Studies, project EB14.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did receive bids on Class and SAS on February 16th. We had 7 bidders. There were 8 alternates on this project. It was definitely a challenge as a renovation-only school to ensure that the budget hopefully was going to be met with the bids received. Unfortunately, the low bid does exceed the construction budget by nearly $1.3 million. We were aware that a portion of this was already going to exceed to some degree just because of the complicated phasing of the construction, but we didn't anticipate this much. The bids were tight. We have also seen from visiting with the apparent low bidder that the electrical and mechanical systems in the building are also a challenge. It's just an older facility. There's just a lot of unknowns. But at this time, to move forward, we don't see any way to have a significant savings on the project. Program contingency funds are also available, and so we're recommending that we move forward by expending the program contingency funds and awarding the contract for construction for Class and SAS.
Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The Tulsa contractor, Bixby, is that unusual?
That is actually their home office. They actually have a local office as well. It is Atlas General Contractors, and they are doing several projects for us now.
Okay.
But they do have a local Oklahoma City office, which is the managing office for this project.
And they're also doing the Thunder's practice facility for us.
Okay. They're a real deal. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there other questions?
If I could make one comment, you know, we've got several high schools we're going into right now that are going to be a little bit complicated, and we have had a good run of project underruns on a number of projects, and we do have contingency funds. So when we get into the southeast and the class and schools, and there may be 1 or 2 others, to go ahead and do, you know, to bring them up to the same standards, I think is important, even though we do dip into the contingencies, because of the fact we have had some savings over the last really year and a half on some of the bids. We're in a position to do that. It's kind of been interesting as we went through this. We had revenue risk at the beginning. When we started the program, revenues were down. It was after the 9/11, and the economy was bad, and we were running under. And then at the end, the economy was really good, and we ended up being over target for the entire program. When we started the project, the construction costs, you know, were a little bit high. And then as we got into it, the construction costs dropped off greatly, and we've been able to save on that. And so that's one of the benefits of having a long program. You get some of the highs and the lows, and overall it kind of averages out for you. And that's how we've been able to experience that on both the revenue side and the expenditure side of the program.
Could I ask, and my concern is not with awarding the bid as it is and going into the contingencies and that sort of thing, but rather with the things that we're not able to do, the alternates that were included in the bid package. some of which seem to me to be pretty necessary. And I'm wondering if at some point, if there were change orders to the decreased level, or if there were other contingencies that could be made available, could some of those alternates be awarded? And if so, how much of an additional cost would there be awarding it later as opposed to now?
So the answer is yes, and we have actually started the value engineering process on this project already. Once we notified the apparent low bidder of the award, they came to us with several mechanical and electrical challenges and solutions that they believe could have a savings to the project without any loss of scope. And so once we enter into the actual contract, we are going to engage that process formally, identify those items as alternates that were critical needs items, and working closely with the district. But at the same time, if we can find savings, we'll try to offset those costs through the change order process. So those will come to you as packages as we go into the construction of the school, back to the trust board and council for approval.
Is there any sort of prioritization given to the alternates?
There isn't, and so that's, again, something we'll have to visit with the district and find out what's most and what's least. But clearly, with the number of them, 8, there were some that were more favorable than others, but I honestly don't know, and we'll work with them closely to find out what those are.
Thank you.
Other questions? I'd recognize a motion to approve.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Moving into number 5, change orders. First change order is to approve change order number 1 for Pierce Elementary School, an increase of $64,871, project ES 41.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 items on this change order totaling $64,871. There are no additional days being requested. This is the first on this project, and the project is over 50% complete in construction as of today. The first 2 items are the most significant, and they've been a challenge for us for the past several months. What has come to us through the construction process is that the plans that were developed by our architect were not fully evaluated and received by the fire marshal's office, and so there were some requirements that were missed that were never bid and never a part of this project. We looked at various options, the one that is the most economical versus the one that has the best value, and those are the 2 items that you see before you today, is to fully sprinkler the entire building. Of course, the cost to do that is about $60,590. There's also a fire lane extension that's going to be required as well. Other options included extending fire lane not in just short portions of the building, but to actually put paving around the entire building, which exceeded these costs. There were some others that did not fully sprinkler the building and had partial sprinkling, but again, as we worked through that process, the best option was the one that's before you today. Fire lane extensions, $11,521, and then, of course, there's a value item that's included on this change order as well. There's some playground modifications that provide a credit to the project. Can answer any other questions that you have, but we are recommending approval.
Questions? Seeing none, I'd recognize a motion to approve this change order.
Move approval.
Then moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Final change order is change order number 5 for Putnam Heights Elementary School, increase of $13,676, project ES 28.
Putnam Heights is over 70% complete, so we're definitely on the second half of the construction of this school. 8 items included. There's also 3 additional weather days. The most significant item is item number 1, which is a media center floor replacement. This was a floor that was scheduled to be remain, but it was not salvageable, so it requires a complete tear-out. We have some credit items which are identified in item number 4. There's some mechanical unit enclosures. Then we have 2 more significant items, numbers 6 and 7, which have to do with some sewer issues that were identified at the school that must be addressed as well. Total change, including this change order on the contract, is just under 0.5%, and we're recommending approval.
Questions? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve this change order.
So moved,
It's
Mr.
been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Mr. Couch, update.
Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of activity going on, and Mr. Winger is going to run through some updates of the specific schools. We've got a pretty, I think, extensive pictorial walk through a number of the schools this afternoon.
Thank you. It's been a little bit of probably 6 months since we've done a photo update to kind of bring you up to speed to what some of the project status is, and so we wanted to take this opportunity. With more than 19 schools now in construction, we have 6 of those that I wanted to show you that are in stages of completion. But we also have 24 schools that are in the design phase, and I think the big news that we have to report this month is we're on schedule to have the last 9 contracts out of interviews and hopefully having contracts to you by next month, the final 9 projects on the program. That excludes the downtown elementary, which is a specialty project that we're still working on, and also the district administration building. Mark Twain Elementary School, this is the architect's rendering that was provided as a part of the preliminary report. The area to the left is the existing school, and the area to the right is the new addition. Obviously, one of the focuses that we continue to look at, and as the architects bring these plans to you, are visitor access, main entry identification, which you can see now at the center of the 2 structures. This is what it looked like, and this is kind of a time-lapse sequencing that you're going to see here. This is approximately 6 to 8 months ago, where the connector was being placed between the existing and the new. This is some of the earthwork that was underway, and you can see some of the new paving being added. And, of course, this is that finished product today. This is on West Main Street, just west of Penn. It's a 280-student school, and the cost of this project was about $2.8 million. These are some of the interiors. Again, a lot of the things that you're going to see in these photos is, again, the consistency in the designs. With the standards that we've adopted, it's still being implemented across the district, regardless of the geographical location of the school. North, south, east, or west, we're still using those same standards. These are some of the hallways being finished out. And again, as we start to look at uses of color, this architect chose to identify each of the wings in some of the primaries, and then a lot of color that was also put in onto this floor. Nearly a 100-year-old building, and the interiors have been modernized to the 21st century. This is a new media center in some of its stages of completion, and again, taking those colors out of the main building and bringing those on into this media center. These were some of the final photos as they were preparing the facility for books. The school's been in operation. The ribbon-cutting ceremony is to be scheduled just as soon as we finalize the rest of that work. But we know that the patrons have been extremely happy with this. And there's a final change order that we've recently implemented, and that's the reason for the small delay in closing out this project completely. This is their cafeteria and stage. This was one of the darker photos from the construction. Of course, this is in a phase of where they've installed the new lighting and preparing for the new floor, and this is the new floor and finished product. Next on our list is North Highland Elementary School on North Broadway Extension. $4.1 million, 550 students. And one of the things that this school lacked was a visual presence, and so that is one of the primary goals of this project, is to make sure that the front door is well identified. You can see that here on this artist's rendering. But the work, as you can see, Broadway Extension in the back, this was the new addition. In some of its early phases as the walls were erected and coming up out of the ground. You can see the roof now being installed, block, and then you can see the brick starting in on the right side of the drawing, and then the brick completion. In most cases, what we're trying to do is also match that existing architecture just to ensure that there's a seamless continuity in the design. This is just another perspective from that. So you can see how large this structure is, a sizable addition, also to eliminate all those portable buildings that are on these sites. Project should be completed later this year. Some of the interiors, these are some of the spaces. Again, some of the use of color. Again, we're using vinyl tile throughout, but it gives those architects opportunities to do all different types of designs and really treat each classroom with a community perspective of what they desire at those areas. This is Pierce Elementary School. This is West Oklahoma City. $3.1 million project, 265 students. New addition again, coming out of the ground. See the roof structure, metal stud walls, exterior sheathing. This is the new entry for Pierce that you'll probably recognize from the earlier rendering. And again, there will be no question once you arrive at this school as to where this front door is. A lot of these entries have been on the backs and on the sides, and they're just not well advertised. The parking that you see to the left on this drawing is also all new, or I should say this photo is all new and is in use today. Some of the interior remodel work that's underway. Stand-Wady Elementary School, $4.4 million, almost an 800-student school. To the right of this artist rendering is the existing school, and to the left where you see the new entry with the white roof and the orange is this new addition. This is primarily steel structure, 2-story. This was one of these that as we do photo updates in our office each month, literally one month there is just a slab, and the next month we have what looks to be almost a completed building. And so this went up in the series of just 2 or 3 months, the construction that you see here. It's fully bricked today. That new addition, this is that new entry. It's just lacking the white roof on the entry on the left and some of the canopy structure. You can see they've already added the sidewalks and sod, and so this project is also nearing completion very quickly. On the interiors, some of the work, this is going to be the new media center. It's a two-story structure that has some skylights in it. You can see them at the top right portion of the photo. It's going to be a really unique space. Wilson Elementary School, what's in white is the existing school, and what is in red is the new addition. It's on North Walker, and so it's very hard to see unless you exit onto one of the side streets to see this new addition. It's in a historic preservation district, so we had to maintain the postcard view as much as possible. But this is from the back of that facility, and you can see, much like Stand Wadey, a two-story metal frame structure. Again, brick matching the existing. They used a lot of modern materials to try to mimic and match the older stone. Here you can see the windows weren't yet installed. Here's some of the products that they're using to match some of that original architecture. That would be the light areas that are above the windows and between the windows as well. This is from the playground view, and this is a partial photo, and this is it today, fully bricked. And so if you were to go to Wilson, this is exactly how you would see that.
Eric, how much did the private community put into this?
We had about $600,000 to $700,000, and the work that they paid for on this photo is on the left. And so there's a 4-classroom addition on the left of this photo where you see that first bank of windows. And so there are 2 specialty rooms. There's an all-day kindergarten room, and then there's also a room that they call transitional first. It's for those kindergartners that aren't quite ready to go to first grade, and they're somewhere in between. Some of the interiors of that new addition. This is some of the hallways as we were going through these past couple of months. You can see some of the interior stairwells, some of the restrooms that are nearing completion. They've yet to put up the partitions. But we are looking towards having this project completed by August, the start of next school year. The last one I'm going to bring to you today is Edwards Elementary. This is, again, some of the vision of the architect at that school to make sure that we have identifiable entry. I guess I should have brought some of the existing photos to show you how nondiscrete they really are, but it's very hard to see on this school, the door. I think on this photo you'll very clearly see it. It's in red with the triangle element. This is the area that was scraped. This is where the portable buildings at that school used to reside. They've been moved closer to 10th Street, and they will be completely removed at the end of construction. Again, the slab being prepared, the slab being poured, and then the new construction today. This is it looking from Grand Boulevard, and so it kind of gives you some perspective of how much work has already been completed out there in just a few short months. On the interiors, and this is pretty typical of a classroom. This is an existing classroom. Again, you can see the exposed ceiling, the exposed mechanical equipment, and this is pre-demolition. You can also see some of the cabinets. What we typically do is go into these new floors, painted walls, new ceilings, but then we're also overhauling or renovating all the millwork. This is partial demolition plan as they get rid of the chalkboards, replace those with marker boards, install new mechanical ducts in lots of the spaces to improve heating and cooling efficiencies. And this is some of the spaces as they're now finishing those out. And so completely remodeled classrooms, and you can see the new ceilings that are concealing all of the metal structure above. But as we talk about what's upcoming, we're engaging architects on the final projects this month in the interview process. Construction bids for Linwood and Parks Elementary. We did take Linwood bids this morning. We're starting to see maybe a new trend. We had very few bidders, again, compared to what we saw last year, 5 bidders in lieu of the 10 or more that we saw last year on similar projects. The bid relatively came in on budget. It actually exceeded it by about $62,000. It was a $3.4 million project, and there are a pair of alternates that are desirable that we're going to be recommending. The first is there's a portable building that's going to be required to help assist in the phasing of the project. We're removing the portables early on to make sure that the new addition is in the right location. But that causes us to then rent a portable building for the duration. There was also an excellent bid received on some electrical upgrades of only $15,000 to upgrade all of the classroom lighting throughout the whole facility. So we'll be bringing that board recommendation back to the trust for approval at the next meeting. May through August this summer will look a lot like last summer, and we're looking to bid about 10 to 12 projects that will average nearly one, probably about every 2 weeks. And then into the fall and winter, we're in the final plan preparations. Those would be the 9 schools that we're doing the designs now, 4 elementaries and 5 middle schools, and preparing those for bidding about this time next year. We still keep our website updated, so I know You may receive questions periodically. Just wanted to let you know that at okc.gov there is a link there to Maps for Kids at the bottom of that page. The monthly reports that the trust sees, the annual reports, the construction schedules are updated all on a monthly basis, and so we continue to make sure that the patrons know that that's available, and of course our contact information is online as well so that they can call our office direct. Do another construction update maybe in a few months and kind of show some continued progress, and some of the other things that you can expect are some more invitations, postcards, not just to community meetings, but to some of the ribbon cuttings as we start to finish up these schools and move into the next series.
Are there questions for Eric?
I do have one question. As we close some of these projects, and then there's going to be a few more coming online that we're going to close, are we going to see significant change orders due to weather delays that we had in the past few months?
We are, and so the ones that we're still evaluating are the winter delays due to the ice, the two significant ice events, and we do get it from two factors. One is it's obviously very hard to work outside, but we also experience a very cold weather, and so a lot of the slabs that you saw that were scheduled to pour, we physically could not get concrete from the concrete suppliers just because of freezing temperatures, and so there are delays that you're going to see. But we're continuing to work those schedules, and one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that we're not impacting the district. We still want to make a delivery of classrooms in August. If that means that we have to reduce the total number of classrooms we're delivering, we're looking at those, but at least making sure that we're moving forward with minimal delay.
You still feel you have adequate contingency to cover that? We
do at this time. I mean, I'm not anticipating significant increases, but the biggest risk clearly still is in those renovation-only projects, the high schools and the middle schools that we've yet to construct. But we are doing our best to learn from the last one bid. On class and SAS, there were too many alternates. On class and SAS, even though we had portable buildings, it just wasn't enough. And so as we look towards Northeast and Northwest class and those next two that are coming up as high schools, we're trying to improve those, and hopefully we'll see better bids on both.
Other questions? Thank you, Eric. Do you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Are there any comments by trustees, staff, citizens? Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Harris with the John Marshall High School Foundation, and I just want to bring you up again to speed on where we are. We're 4 months after completion, basically, of John Marshall. This year will be our first graduating class to start off as freshmen. They're outstanding students. Our guest speaker for the graduation is Burns Hargis, who's one of our alumni. And so we're really moving forward on some awesome things. Of our senior football players, we've already signed 8 of them for football scholarships. We've got 2 for basketball scholarships and 2 for track scholarships. We only had one senior, actually one player, that got in academic trouble during the school year and missed one game. That's never happened before. We used to have 15 and 20 kids that would miss games throughout the year. So academics are up. Our academic team competed this couple of weeks ago in the district and came in second. We competed against private and public schools in several competitions academically and come in the top 3 to 4 to 5. So it's not only about athletics or academics, it's about all of it. We've had no vandalism problems in 4 years, which is something unheard of in a public school. I can't speak for all the schools, but I want you to know at John Marshall, the kids are taking pride in the school. They're taking pride in where they are, and our staff is doing the same. So we just want to thank you for all your work and time, and appreciate all you've done.
Thanks, Terry. Other comments? Seeing none, we're adjourned.